Good Monday morning, everyone. We're on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer to break down today's market action. All right, Jim, let's get your take on the markets. Will investors care more about Syria or earnings in your view?
Well, I think that you've got these headwinds out of Washington and tailwinds out of the earnings. Today's no different. I happen to like Bank of America's quarter, but obviously people feel I'm wrong on that, or the stock would be up. But I think Syria is not one and done. I think a lot of people think Syria is one and done, but when you have Bashar al-Assad taunting the president and Russia sitting around talking, I think what you'll say is that, look, if they want to strike, obviously I think the wrong takeaway is by the media. The answer is, not unlike when President Truman was trying to figure out where to drop the third atomic bomb, is it not clear that we could pinpoint where Bashar al-Assad is? So I really think the Syrians are overplaying their hand. The Russians are overplaying their hand. The president underplayed his hand. He was trying to be restrained. That was General Mattis. If General Mattis stays, and you never know anymore, then I think they stay restrained. But I think Bashar al-Assad should count his blessings rather than laugh.
And Jim, we also have the Michael Cohen investigation, but what does that have to do with the PE ratio of Bristol?
Bristol Myers PE going down because Keytruda is better than Optiva. I don't know how to put Cohen in the equation. I mean, I think that I do know this, that when you've raided the office of a lawyer who has directly spoken to Russian banks and to Stormy Daniels, and is though that correspondence is not privileged. So that correspondence, because it's not a correspondence between him and his client, perhaps the president, it's correspondence between him and the adversary, and that is public. And what will happen is the clean team from the Justice Department, there are two teams when you're looking through privileged documents. The clean team will look at what is said to be privileged and confidential, and if it's not privileged and confidential, say to Russian banks, say to Stormy Daniels, that will be given up to the prosecution. People have to understand the clean team, non-clean team has been a tradition of how the Justice Department can analyze what is actually not protected by the Sixth Amendment and what is. So stay tuned for fireworks. I think there's a lot of fireworks here.
And the Dow's up 200 points, but the trading day is young.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that because there was no Syria backlash now, because we didn't get anything from Cohen, because the president was restrained. I think that other than Comey's in a book tour and nothing really revelatory other than, wow, our president, another person thinks our president is not above board. He used to run the FBI this time. But when you get that kind of like, well, maybe something didn't happen, then you would think that all stocks would come back. It's interesting that the group that had the best earnings, ex-PNC and Wells, are the banks. But the banks are, again, not able to get any traction. I think that's a mistake, but I always have to caution people, and I will talk about this in our Action Alerts video that I see more and more people taking. Thank you for people who get the free. I want to talk more about this because I don't think that I think that some are mispriced and some aren't. I really want to go into that so you have a better call. This is not, there was someone tweeting this weekend that I've never given people in Allergan a heads up about Allergan's problems in Mad Money. And, all I can say is, are you kidding me? But that in these broadcasts over and over again, I have said the Allergan tight leash, which echoes a statement that we have put out maybe a dozen times. So you got to stay tuned to our videos and to our notes, not just to recap, because the recap may not be the correct slant.
Yes, join the club at actionalertsplus.com.
A lot of people have been joining. Thank you very much.
The growth has been incredible.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Jim, on Friday on Mad Money, you talked about cybersecurity stocks. Is that a good safe haven play?
Zscaler, very interesting. Yeah, well, here's the problem with these. These are all young. You could be wrong. I hesitate. I want people to go over. There's a good example where you can go over the Mad Money recap. And the recap was absolutely excellent. So go to that to get which ones we like, which ones cheaper, which ones have high growth, which ones have large revenue to large sales to price, because that's really the way you measure these. And that one, I mean, I look at the recap and see where the recap is, and that was extraordinarily good. I just caution that I just want everyone to try to either watch the show or become members, and not necessarily rely on the recap, but the recap can be very good.
Meanwhile, Jim, Ulta shares seem to be bouncing back.
Yeah,
what did you
one
think?
of our themes, we did a piece on Mad Money not that long ago saying that Ulta's come down too far, that Ulta has ceased to have a premium multiple. It's now got a multiple on not, kind of like other retailers, but it has a much better and cleaner story. And there's a couple surveys that have come out that said that. Got an upgrade today. I think Ulta is, I'm not going to say ready to run because it's been running, but I am going to say that on a basis with other retailers, it is inexpensive.
And perhaps at the center of this selfie bonanza that you talk about.
Right, now, I mean, Estee Lauder has been the biggest winner. Stock's up a quick 60. Estee Lauder doing quite well, by the way, in China. That's been the best way to play, looking at your selfie best. And then Ulta's a secondary way. JCPenney had been because they have Sephora, but there are other weaknesses, JCPenney, that make me far less willing to recommend it. And again, today's early. We're early in the day. The way I remember my two-session thesis, which is that sometimes you have a morning session that is very good. It leads to an afternoon session that's not that good. I just want to caution people, please don't buy when this market's up. It has not been a good call.
I actually had Mark Chaikin on the other day. He said people are buying, or selling into the close many times. Which is
I had dinner with Mark last night, and I think that's right. Mark is very good, and we've done a lot together. I would follow what Mark has to say.
All right, meanwhile, Jim, who do you have coming up on Mad Money tonight?
I have a company, very small company, that bought TXU and Dynegy together, and it's what I can tell you is that I'm going to look at this as a tale on merchant power and how strong merchant power is. But those who know Dynegy will know this company. Let's see what they have to say. I think it's. I like to have mergers that are on of companies that nobody knows, and this is certainly one of them, believe me.
All right, we'll be watching tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern on CNBC. Meanwhile, Jim and I are going to continue talking about stocks on actionalertsplus.com. We'll see you there.